to Windmill.
Okay.
For $250, he lets you come there.
Thank you,
You
Rob.
Bring in your own food, have a food truck.
It doesn't have a number on Dave's.
There, he makes out on that.
Sorry, we're on here, right, on this number.
All right,
Was it there in 2020?
Yeah.
so
I don't know.
we're
Or is it
streaming
just that
now.
it's not zoomed in?
There's all
Hang on,
Okay, that sounds good.
take a look.
Yeah.
Sometimes this program can be finicky and not show stuff unless you zoom in further.
I would just start,
Oh, yeah.
Conrad.
So this one,
Okay.
They've been talking the whole time.
Is everybody ready to start?
You think that was calculated into ours?
yeah, Dave's notes.
All right, we're going to get started with our meeting here. We have a lot of different map options before us. I had a question, actually. We can see it by just ward, or does it have precinct as well?
You could
Yeah.
flip one around.
It doesn't have precincts. That's a good question. My assumption is that would be decided after, and it's less important than representation. Does that make sense?
I was just thinking, because we were at a central committee meeting, and, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, well, I guess if somebody really wanted to get rid of me on central committee, they could just draw me out of my
That's what that one does. That's why I wrote it the crazy map, because it actually moves two people out of their district, so it would not be a good, I made the map, so it's okay, but it's
Oh,
not good,
okay, I
it's
see
not a
what
good
you're saying.
choice.
So the
Well, there's very
precincts are
few
decided
things that
later.
the precincts, is that one of the things that precincts affects? It affects voting location. It affects
Well,
representation on committees.
it doesn't really affect voter location so much, because a few years ago, they moved about half of the locations to Epic. And there's even a few of our polling locations that are in the township. Technically, I know that New Testament Church is right on the border, but then there's one up past Cierna and Sons. That's another voting location, which is in the township. And I know people from the township vote at Epic too. So I think there's some of those things that we share geographically, but it wouldn't just impact Democratic Central Committee, it also is going to affect Republican Central Committee.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I can add those lines in really easily. And then what, they would have to be changed based on where the wards are redrawn, but minor changes.
I can't think of anything else that's broken down by precinct, other than those things.
Because I believe that was, in the beginning, that was part of this being done, the precincts.
What do you mean?
Well, to make this more proportional and so that the precincts wouldn't possibly be extremely lopsided after this is finished.
I think it is to do more with the wards themselves being more proportional, so that you don't have one council person with 3,200 people and another council person with 1,200 people, and which is what
it is now.
what it is now. And so I don't know that it has to do with as much about the precincts as it does the wards. And I also would encourage everyone to think about, obviously not, I mean, when we're looking at this as a very small, it is a microcosm, right, of what redistricting looks like on a broader scale, right? And when we talk about redistricting, and even in the statewide, there was a lot of talk about incumbents and making sure that incumbents were drawn into their districts, and that isn't the voters choosing their representatives. That is the representatives choosing their voters. And so I encourage you to take a look too, when you're looking at what is best for the residents of Ravenna. And I think when we take a look at all of this is not to draw anybody necessarily out of a position or out of their ward necessarily, but at the same time is to keep in mind of what is best for the residents, and when we're looking at, and, you know, obviously what is going to make it easier or better for the council person that represents them as well. And so that you don't have that disproportionate representation on the council.
Does the law say anything about balancing precincts?
Yes. Well, not precincts, but wards.
Not precincts, wards. Boards.
I know that, Jen, you said that there was one thing we looked at where you had it marked where the ward council people were.
Yeah, so it actually only, I couldn't even, so if you look at, all of these maps are zoomed into where the changes are happening so that people can really look at it on a really fine scale. The only map I did that, like I said, that's the crazy map, is I just totally changed everything. And so that's zoomed out further, and on that map, I marked where all of you live.
Okay.
So the good news for that, and you make a really great point about like not making that a goal. However, it doesn't end up being a huge issue in part because everyone's kind of deeply embedded in the center of their ward. So it's not as much of an issue, I think, for this, whether people are getting, it's unlikely unless you do something crazy. I shouldn't say that it's crazy. It's like, that's an option. Like, it's a legitimate option to say downtown should be its own ward and let's reshuffle everything a lot.
Honestly, the more time I spend on council, the more I'm seeing some merit to that.
To just a downtown.
Listen, that almost I would say that 90% of my headaches on council are coming from downtown, and it's not the problems I'm dealing with anywhere else.
I think that's a
How
great
many
point.
wards do you have in that?
Same number.
So how,
So
so you just put a ward in the middle?
Now, what's the,
I know you guys wouldn't like it,
I don't like
but I
that.
wanted to
what's the
share that.
objective of that?
I think what Carmen's saying is, it was exactly my objective, was just in like brainstorming about it, not in saying that's what you should do, but like in brainstorming about it is to say what do the people that have the most in common and have similar problems and challenges, because that's really the only thing that we're allowed to consider. We have to have equal size, and we have to have, equal size, and we want to keep communities together, and compactness, sorry, that's the one I was thinking of. Also keep them compact. All of these are marked with scores of compactness, which the website that I sent you guys calculates magically. And actually, the downtown ward one was the least compact. I don't know why, but it is, based on that number. But all of them were compact, were appropriately compact. All the ones that Larry made, Rob made, and I made, I have 2 that I made, one that Rob made and 7 that Larry made. They're all appropriately compact, they're all even. The question really comes down to, are they keeping communities together that have a lot in common, so that then the person, the council member, can appropriately represent them? Does that make sense?
True, but I think the distinction of the downtown is the issues we face come from shop owners, from landlords. A lot of them don't live and won't be voting in Ravenna.
But the
So-
homelessness issue is primarily in the downtown,
Right? How does
which has
that,
been, believe me, has taken up almost every free minute of my day for several days running now.
well, true, but I mean, why is that a determining factor in creating a separate ward? That doesn't-
Because that's not an issue that we really have in the other parts.
Well, right
Yeah, but
now,
the downtown
downtown
is-
has 7 council people. They have 4 ward councilmen and they have 3 at-large people.
That's true.
And the way
I'd
it's
say that's good representation.
And right now, it's the intersection of 4 wards. So it's represented by, it's got great representation. If we created its own ward, then it would only have representation from 1 ward member, or
Plus,
one council member.
plus they have the Chamber of Commerce.
The argument would be that, okay, let's say, Carmen, I'm going to use you as the example. You currently have 75% of people that are kind of outside of downtown and 25% of people that are inside downtown. You're then going to, no, not that you won't help the 25%, but right, you might feel more inclined to assist and to vote in a way that supports those 75% rather than those 25%.
And I think that in general, when, again, and I look at it from like the macro view of redistricting, and the idea is to keep communities together. And that is the same whether it's a district or whether it's a ward. And so when you're looking at this, and this is a big reason why getting the public involved too, to where they feel that, where's their community? Where do they feel that they are most represented, or that the people around them? Because people in downtown are definitely not going to feel as if they are in community with some of the outer, like I'm looking up here in like the Lincoln and the North area, when it's more sparsely populated, right? So they're going to have different challenges than the people that are in downtown. And so I'll give you this on a macro level, is when we're looking at the districts in Ohio, okay? There's a district that runs from Columbus all the way down to Athens. There is no possible way that a congressman can actually represent the same interests that are happening in Columbus that they need in Appalachia, right? And so when they're voting, there's no consistency in their voting, and they're trying to fight for all of these people when they're not all the same. And so when you bring it down then to this now microcosm that we have, I mean, this is Ravenna, right? Is then making sure then that each council person is representing an area that that might all look the same, or that at least have the same challenges. And I think that, Rob, and I'm not suggesting that that's the way to go. I'm just saying that is one of the reasons. And when we're looking at any of the maps, is to keep that in mind. And again, it's why I would definitely encourage, and I understand from Carmen that this is just kind of to condense the number of maps before taking it out to the public. But I definitely would be a proponent of letting the public speak too on, boy, I don't really feel like that represents me. And so I think that to give them a voice in all of this would be paramount.
Well, I'll make a comment to that. I've received communications from business managers and owners, residents from practically all over town, and it doesn't bother me where the person lives, where their business is. I will, if I need to, I will make a point to go there, see what the problem is, listen no matter what. And, okay, I'll agree with this homeless situation, but question in my mind, are some of these people really homeless or not? And I believe there are avenues where this can be tackled. I'm not saying 100%, but it could be greatly diminished with certain steps. And then that would greatly reduce those types of problems that have been ongoing and not really tackled abruptly, instead of just gradually doing it with a soft hand.
But I think one of the problems with that argument is the downtown is not populated enough to be its own district. So now you're just expanding it arbitrarily to create an equally sized district, and you're mixing it up with other interests, whatever. And the other thing is, I get the argument with downtown being different, but I honestly believe demographically, and for whatever reason, the city of Ravenna is pretty homogeneous. I don't know that we have those pockets of, we don't have a Little Italy. We don't have the different communities that need individual representation from my perspective. If there was one, it would be the downtown, but I don't think it's large enough. I think that's the problem. And
You
it
don't notice
creates
any-
this really crazy-looking map.
You don't
which-
notice any socioeconomic strata between the east and the west side of town?
Oh,
Well-
I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
Perhaps, but I don't know if that
Perhaps.
creates enough of a difference. I mean, I don't know, I'd have to look at the actual data to say that that's true. The only data I was able to compile had to do with demographics and voter habits, what party people belong to. And that was what I focused on, to try to make each ward as consistent with each other ward as possible. Because I don't see that, I mean, I don't know, maybe you're right, but we haven't delved into that to say.
Ravenna's pretty
And if we do,
even,
then
Republican
it
and
works out.
Democrat.
Then what are you gonna do, create like two huge wards, east and west? I mean, I don't know how that
no,
fans
we're
out.
just having a conversation about the character and neighborhoods of Ravenna.
Well, do you think the well-off on East Main Street need to all be in one ward with one council person?
No, but I definitely know, I don't know, I should say, but I can observe that neighborhood looks a lot different than neighborhoods on the west side.
Yeah, but do they need their own councilman, one councilman? That is the question.
Well, that's where the public input is gonna help. Let the people who live there answer that question. I don't live on that side of town, I'm on west side.
I mean, I think in general is, putting those communities together that look the same. And I hear you, Rob, that and again, we're looking at a little microcosm of, and yes, there are, perhaps at the, very core, that most people look the same, but there are neighborhoods, I am sure, and I know that look very different, that you have a very affluent neighborhood or you have poverty in some of those areas. And when a council person is coming and representing their constituents, what does that look like? And are they going to talk to the affluent, or are they fighting for the poverty in their area? So, and again, it's part of the reason, right, to just take a look. And when you're at this time and you are redistricting and then that you are, moving and reapportioning the wards, it's certainly an area to consider.
Wasn't one of our goals to be the least disruptive and move the fewest people?
I included data on that. I don't, legally, that's not a goal, but I do feel like personally, I feel like that's in the best interest of people so if you look at these, they're almost all even. One of the ones that I made, which has J on it, it's one of those, that is the least. That was the smallest. I was like, what would happen if I tried to move the fewest possible people? And I got it down to 1,000. Most of them are about 1,500 people get moved. So they were similar. I mean, really, most of your maps, Larry, were similar. Rob's was very similar. All of ours were actually really similar in terms of disruption and in terms of compactness. So I'm just looking at a map here, and there's a clear difference. It's called justicemap.org, and if you click on income, it has really fine scale data about things like income.
Justicemap.org?
Yeah, and it's got a bunch on race, but if you look over, there's something that says income, and so there's a clear north-south differentiation in terms of income.
And see, I'm looking at it different.
Poorer in the
To-
south.
To me,
more wealthy
it
in the
makes no difference to me if someone is extreme poverty or no matter what their worth is. I'm looking at everybody the same way. I don't differentiate. If I go up to a business or a house, whether it's a rental or a homeowner, it makes no difference. If that might be worth, okay, I'm going to give you extremes here. If it's only worth 50,000, or if it might be worth 2 million. I know that it's extremes, but I'm looking at the individuals the same way, no matter what.
The question is less about that, and so it's more about if you have a constituent something is proposed. I'm a little hesitant to use this as an example, but let's say like a shelter, right? And it's going to be put smack dab in that center area of where it's currently divided by 4, right? And the folks living around that area were like, no, we would not like that. And the people out in the suburbs are like, no, that seems like a great location, you know?
Well,
You
I'm
could
going to
say a
give,
vape shop, right, or something, whatever you want to call it, but something that maybe people don't want.
Well, but you're
To be-
discounting zoning
And if you only,
issues.
if 25% of your folks say, no, we don't like that, and 75% say, yes, you should vote yes on that, you're going to go with those 75%, right?
maybe, I analyze the big picture and look at everything, what's best for the residents.
Yeah, but I don't think we should go through this process of how we individually evaluate these things. I think it should try to be subjective as to whoever's going to hold that position in perpetuity. Because who knows, the next Ward 1 person could care
Yeah.
less.
So
Well, you're right.
I'm not sure I agree with your argument because I think there are zoning issues. There are so many components that decide where a certain type of,
That was a bad example.
Use.
But I see
But-
what I'm saying, something you're in
but-
favor of or opposed.
but I think a better one might be, you know, if there is a community, and I don't know that there is, but maybe there's data out there that says the average median home salary, whatever you want to use as an economic indicator, spans across a couple of wards, then you're right. Then maybe just because of the placement of that, conglomerate of individuals puts them at a disadvantage because if they were their own ward, they'd have a much more greater voting bloc. But since they're divided into 2 wards, then the outer people who have more of a population have more of a representation. My problem is I just don't know that if we do that, we got to start doing it now because we haven't done that analysis.
Well,
The only now- I
The
guess-
only real analysis is asking people what they think.
That's what the public
Like,
being
it's
part
not-
of this,
I-
after this meeting, integrating the public into this process is going to be key to answering those questions.
Yeah, but I thought the plan was to pick a map and.
Not a map, where I wanted to have a small collection, like not have
Okay.
20 maps.
But I don't know that anybody who created a map took those factors into consideration, because I did not, because I didn't have the data.
There is, like I said, there's no set data that's going to answer any of those questions. I was talking to this math professor who's like, you should use AI, and I'm like, no, thank you. It's really people who say, I feel like, so like in Kent, I live just south of, so I consider myself part of downtown. I do not live in downtown. I don't live in one of those places, the tall apartment buildings downtown, right? But I live close enough to downtown that what happens there really matters to me. And I live surrounded by, my house cost $130,000. Like, it's not an expensive house. Like, it's fine. It's a good house. It's like, but it's not like the ones out that are $350, those new houses that are going out on, So like, to me, I feel like I have certain things that and my neighbors generally, even though we might be of totally different political persuasions, that we support. walkability, for example. Like, because we live near downtown, we moved here to be able to walk to downtown. And if the city's not, it's like, I'm going to bug my representative, and I do, to say, I want my sidewalks maintained. I don't like this thing. Don't raise the speed limit on Water Street. You see what I'm saying? Those are the people that I feel a sense of community with. And you can't measure that with like any kind of data, because my income as a professor is not going to match the retired cafeteria worker who lives next door to me. Like, we will not at all have the same income, but we agree on things that are kind of
And there are
geographic.
ways for you to organize and make your voice heard. I just don't know how we, as creators of a new map to redistrict, can really factor that in. That's my, I guess,
And I think that Carmen says this right, and I would encourage you to, I have some data that I can send to you as well, but Warren and Alliance and Struthers have all gone through this process recently, and especially Warren, but, and they are actually small. I mean, they're MSA, I guess, is I wouldn't say equal, there's a little bit bigger than Ravenna, but not too much. And they held 4 public meetings, and it worked out extremely well. And so when they then go ahead and vote on their maps, they know that the public is supporting every bit of that because they've had input. They've been able to talk about what communities they feel a part of, just as like Jennifer said about some people want walkability, and they know the areas where their community is. And so I think that I would just encourage you to consider making, taking, like Carmen said, maybe 3 or 4 of them, but also be open to somebody using the program to maybe do a different map. And if it works out the same way, then that could be an option as well. But I wouldn't close the door on what options or what option you take to them, because it's amazing what the public, once they understand the process and understand why, and Jennifer said she'd come and help with those meetings. I know Trevor would come up, that was here before, and kind of guide some of those if that would work. That's what he did with Warren. So I think there's probably more knowledge out there than you may even maybe consider.
I strongly support that, and I do feel like if we do open this up to the public, that they're going to notice and see things that we didn't even think about. It always works out that way. So before we get out of our seats here and take a look at these maps, is there anything anybody wants to point out about these maps?
Well, it'd be easier if we walk around together and look at them.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm
As a
just saying
point-
before we kind of go walk around.
And speaking of the public, we also have one member of the public here. You got anything to add, Cliff?
I was just looking at the crazy map here. And I just had one question about that. Since there'd be 5 wards, are you gonna add a council?
There's not 5 words.
Well, that's what it shows me. I'm not understanding that.
Sorry,
That looks
that's
like a
why
ward
it's
there,
crazy.
There, and there.
Nope.
So okay.
But what, so yellow, green, blue, and red.
Okay.
but I see
guess I'm not
purple.
understanding that. So long as you're saying that.
Yeah, I
there's
see
only-
it too.
Only 4, I still.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
The only thing that I notice here is that, first of all, people don't like change. So you're gonna catch a lot of crap from people here about where they're gonna go vote if that happens and that. You're gonna get hit in the face with this because people don't like change. It needs done. I agree. I'm in Ward 4 and we're the smallest one by quite a bit and it needs to be changed. But I kind of thought that maybe the best thing to do would just go a little bit more west and pick up enough people to make it, pick up some of 3 into 4. And right now, I go to to vote at the library. 50 feet away, the guy across the street goes out to Lake Street. Okay?
See, yeah, that's the thing. I've only lived here since 2019, and they've moved my voting location twice, so.
And I don't think people like that. That's just.
Yeah, and I don't think, Cliff, I don't think that this is going to change where they vote. It's going to change what ballots they have at those precincts, right? Because if Ward 3 moves over, that means that precinct 2A that's on that side is just going to get different ballots. So it's going to make a difference at the BOE, but I don't know that it's going to make a difference because the population isn't changing, right? The wards are just changing. And so it's not like they're moving, that they have X number of people at precinct 1A and they need to separate them. They're just going to get different ballots.
And really, I think the only thing that goes on the ballot that's definitely by precinct is liquor licensing that I can think of.
Yeah,
D6
You
liquor.
can have them just vote on your liquor license if you're in the precinct.
Yeah, it's only for
Not
the
the whole
precincts.
district, or you're not even a ward.
It's
Right.
that's the only thing I can think of that goes on the ballot by precinct is D6 liquor license.
Wait a minute,
So-
people have to vote in whatever voting place is for their ward. We are going to move people to different voting.
Well,
For their
that's not
precincts.
happening now. So I vote clear, listen, you could almost not put me at a more opposite end of town than where I have to go vote. Lake Street out there at Epic, I mean, Ravenna's not that big that it would take me 10 minutes to drive there. And it's not accessible, it's not on a bus route, and there's no sidewalks going to it. But half of the city votes there now, because the building itself is accessible, because it was made for that. But that's an argument for another audience. So,
So
So
just
Cliff,
to
thank you for
describe
being
what-
here.
Sorry.
I said, Cliff, thank you for being here.
yeah.
Just to describe what's on the map. So the different colors come from overlapping with the red and the green, and that's why it looks kind of particularly crazy. So the red and the blue made purple, which didn't happen on no other map has purple even. But most of them, there's some about like 4 different precinct switches. That was something I tried with my maps too, was to have as few precinct switches as possible, but that's not necessarily like a rule. So I wrote on there the deviations. Larry and Rob tried really hard to have 0 deviation, and so they actually could be much larger. So I wrote down it could be up to 10%. It was just 283 people different between each of them, and theirs were like 15. So good
Well
job.
done. Yeah, well
But
done.
they don't need to be that close, and that wiggle room is where the community could potentially provide some input. Be like, well, I don't mind if this is a little bit bigger if it means that my neighborhood, my block gets included in this ward and not this ward or something. So I showed the deviations, the compactness score, which, like I said, is something mathematical that I don't understand, but all of them except for the downtown option were good on the compactness score. And that one's close, but a little low. I wrote down how many would change ward, how many people would change wards. And then I put, Larry had comments for some of his about why he did what he did, and so I added those in. And I did that for my map too. And I think that's it. And yeah, just tried to show with colors which blocks would actually change from one ward to another.
Okay, well, let's get
We
down
should
and take a
probably
look at these.
stand up and look at each
No,
map
we
together while the map maker describes why they did what they did.
For all of these? Okay. Well, I'm gonna use the restroom first. I was trying to be subtle about it. All right.
Rob, you're president of council. Will this need a public hearing
Yeah,
to
well-
change this?
It won't, it's not required, but we certainly will have at least one, but probably more.
Or not just a welcome to, and we want to show you what we're doing, actually a public hearing in 30 days. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think any of those things are required.
Have them.
We'll have to change our code.
Or do you think of having
because
enough
the
of
code doesn't
Yeah, I
define
think it should
where
be. I'm
boundaries
checking,
are for each
and it is
ward.
kind of picking it up.
All right, I'll leave this, but let me know.
I think we need to let people know, because some people are going to be displaced. Like,
Yeah, it's currently
They'll
on.
be voting in a different district. But, and I don't know if we need
I
to have more
totally
here.
understand why you said it.
Maybe we need to have in the library. This isn't the most convenient way to be displaying for a lot of people.
The library.
The library might be a better venue.
Depending on what you might have to go out to the school, if you've got it. Hey, I don't know, you know, we've seen how
Yeah.
public hearings are, sometimes nobody shows up.
This could be the public hearing.
How many people came in Warren and Alliance? Sharon, do you know?
A lot. They ended up holding theirs, I believe, they were either at the library, but I think they came, I think they went to the school. But I can, but I'll double check on that.
So it could have been a
Tell us
couple.
about your map.
Yeah, they had some,
Well, the map, I mean, obviously, the areas that are a little bit different, obviously, are here. This was the dividing area, and then it dips down a little bit over here, and then it goes north. Now, there's not a lot of population over here, so it's not gonna make a lot of change.
No, there's almost none.
So, I mean, I thought that was our goal, was to make it as least disruptive as possible.
Well, I thought the goal was to make close to equitable population
Yeah,
in each
that's
ward.
what I'm
Also,
saying.
the least disruptive.
Now,
Oh,
so,
in your, according to this map, I moved you to your ward.
I noticed that.
Did I do something wrong? Did you see the X's or no? Was that not where you guys live?
that's where he lives, I live on Madison.
but,
Sure, I know, I didn't know who was who. I only had the addresses.
so,
Oh, but you're,
Yes.
you're,
Which
you're at
means-
large though, okay.
But that's gonna definitely change my other role.
Oh, right.
You
I
also
I
have
know
a
exactly
goal
what you're thinking.
of putting
with
all the
the-
rich people on the east end together
okay.
and the central business district together
I don't
all
know.
in Ward 4.
Well, I mean, well, that is true. Maybe that could be a disadvantage. Again, I didn't look at those factors. Now,
It was easy for me to
I
spot.
tried to make, like, what I tried to do is make each one as homogeneous as possible. So you don't see it on the chart here, but I did send out a spreadsheet to the committee that showed the variation in demographics was pretty minor.
The reason it was easy for me to spot what Larry mentioned is because of where I worked before. I was in so many places, and it was easy for me to see that, even though I was never looking for that, but certain things just stick out.
Well, if that's the case, and I'm trying to figure out, yeah, because I guess Main Street starting here and going east would be downtown. It kind of helps create that community. It's all in the same district. But again, the rest of it may just water down that. But I don't know how else you could do it, because if you split it like that, then you just have 4 districts, or 4 wards that are watering it down. But anyway, the goal was to be as least disruptive as possible and to make each ward as homogeneous as possible.
One of
Demographic.
these maps, I'm in Ward 1.
So that's my,
Yeah, I have two, I just had to submit my own maps. That said, this is why I need you folks and hopefully community members too to tell me more about the geography of Ravenna. So I did it mostly just to keep, I did one that's meant to keep it compact and one that's meant to be as least disruptive. So this one just went up just a little bit. So this ward, somebody said, yeah, Ward 4 is too small, which is actually, it doesn't seem like it, but it's an advantage to the residents to have it that small, but it's unfair to the larger ones. So they needed to expand outward, so I did take some of this section of town and some of that section of town, and then dropped down a little bit because this Ward 1 needed to expand a little bit.
And
too,
see,
and
Carmen's
pulled out
right over
3.
in here.
And so that's interesting. The 3,
I said on every single one of these maps.
Yeah.
it's like that.
it's because, and it's when you try to make it, it's like, oh, this is really hard because it is like, it can only eat in certain directions. And so if green needs to expand, you could either kind of go diagonal and eat out of, but you don't want to do that because that one's already too
Yeah,
small.
because that-
Those are too small. They need to expand, and so there's only 2 directions they can expand into yellow or they can expand into blue. And yeah, it's challenging. This one was the best compactness score at 59. But then this one had the least number of residents changing wards. But it looks, as you can see, it's a little less of this big chunk, less of that going that way, but more of the north of Main Street area
So
coming
how is
into
this
there.
proportioned percentage-wise for each ward?
It's about equal. It's far under the 10%
Okay.
barrier. So each of these is a number of different, so one is a little bit below. The numbers are higher than Rob and Larry's because they were trying to get
That was our
really
goal,
close,
yeah.
but I was like, no, I don't have to get that close. So 283 is the limit, and my highest one was 244. But then I also have one that's only 9 away from the perfect ward size. That makes sense.
Okay. This was meant to be the least disruptive, the simplest with straight borders. This is the old high school football field, so I really want to include it in Ward 1 to make this a straight line. This is where Walnut Street comes up to the railroad track. But in the census, they didn't quite draw Walnut Street to the railroad track.
Oh, yeah, if you
Okay,
can't,
that's-
if the census block doesn't end there, you can't draw that line there. You're not allowed. It's the rules, we're working with census blocks, so we have to work with that. We can't put that in.
Well, the city can do that, can they not?
I don't think they can. Are you sure? I don't think so.
The railroad track, right away, I believe, and Walnut Street, right away touch each
Because you couldn't do it because you wouldn't know how many people live there. There could be 2,000 and you don't know it. But no, you need to have the actual numbers in order to do that, and we don't count below the census block.
other. Oh, there's
level.
four little houses we
You
can
could go, you can conduct your own census.
All right. This map, as somebody suggested originally, has all the well-to-do on the east side in the same ward. This one, I also got basically the central business district from Sycamore East and Locust Lane South, all in Ward 4, along with all the well-to-do. Okay, on this map, I put the central business district from Walnut West and Spruce North in Ward 1. This one, Main Street Business District from Sycamore East and Locust Lane South, again, are in Ward 4, but without special consideration for the folks on East Main Street. This again, business district from Sycamore East, Locust South, and Ward 4. It's a slightly different border over here. I don't know whether either one of them, probably this one's neither. Other than that, those two maps are the same, 5 and 6. 7 was simply to straighten out this little corner down here in Ward 4. Once again, the idea was just neater borders, but it's like a 2% change. From Ward, from this map right here, this cutoff corner, it's about 2% of the population in there, so it's still within the guidelines.
Map, the crazy map. But it's mostly theoretical, but it could be possible. And I would be curious what people would say. Would they be angry about change, or would they say, yeah, those folks have more in common than the more suburban? I mean, the way Kent is split up is kind of more like that, not quite, but it's more like they tried to show that the suburbs, the like slightly larger lots on the outskirts of town were different than kind of that downtown with, you know, houses like mine that are the 1920 built homes that are relatively higher density tend to be within that red area.
And Larry, we have an answer to your question is yes, we need census, you have to be within the census blocks. So, we cannot arbitrarily draw that line, but that's a good idea.
That would be, so the people who draw the census blocks, I believe, are the local planners in the end. Like, they do consult with them, so if you feel like there should be a line there, they could help you out with that for the next time.
Did you look at the shape of that consensus block?
I did not, I just asked Trevor, who's our mapping guru,
That was if it wasn't a census.
is whether we have to, if we need to use those in, per the law, and he says yes, so. Because I think that Jennifer brings up a good point, is that you can't,
Oh, I can
because
show
it's kind of, it would be arbitrary for us to say how many people actually live there, even though you may know that there are 4 houses and they each have 3 people or something, you know, I mean, it's hard other than what we know in census to actually.
They didn't connect well enough to the railroad track, so they got this and this and this and this.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. There's this
A
really
messy block.
big 94-person block, which is a large number for a block. Of course, Kent has a block that's 1,000, which makes drawing these crazy because it's like college, it's a dorm, and it's 1,000 people. And trying to make these little changes doesn't work there. Well, this one is 438.
And I'll say, when it comes to a public meeting, I do believe that if there's slight changes, the public probably won't mind, but if it's some of these where there's big changes, then I won't say they're gonna get irate, but they will make quite a few more comments. I do have to agree with what Cliff said, that people don't like, especially big changes. Small things probably aren't too bad.
If they're, I guess that we found, like, their council person isn't changing.
No,
So, and I think that would be where you would get maybe a lot of pushback from people, or that they might have a
In
big.
this one, they would.
Yeah,
That's
and that
probably
one,
More
and,
extreme one.
right, and maybe, you know, and that could be that far out one, but if they're,
Well, every
if
map here
if
is
they're,
gonna change representation.
what's that?
Every map here is gonna change.
It's true. Some of them
Who
will
some
lose.
people's council person
I meant this one I meant is literally the council person might change what
on
we're
every
there.
one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But
they couldn't run in the same. I mean,
in this.
I see, but they're not, you're not losing a council person. Somebody isn't losing a seat. and on the council.
Right.
Right, and so their council person, you're right, their council person might change, but they're
Yep.
not losing a seat, and I think that's when you start to see, well, that's been my council person for 20 years, they need
Exactly.
their seat.
And then that's where the change comes in, where some people, it's easy to adjust, and some people it's difficult.
And I think that's with any change, right? But I don't think their precinct, so their precinct doesn't change. I mean, they're gonna vote at the same place, it's just gonna be a different,
Even though they're in a different ward.
right, because the precinct is by population as well.
Well, they
They're
might,
within
their
the
voting,
lines,
I mean, their
right?
voting place, the
No.
people in that turquoise area, the pink area, and the orange area, it might very well change.
Yeah, the
Our
precinct
they
will
will.
change when the ward changes.
Yes,
Our
that's
precincts
exactly
are
right.
all within
Change.
wards.
Because it's always something, 1A, 1B,
Yeah,
1C.
they're
So if you
within
change the
wards.
ward, it would be,
But-
like, I'm gonna move.
But if I did, like at my precinct, there are three or four different, or my voting location, there are like 4 different precincts. And they're all going to be voting on different,
But their ballots will look different if there's something by
Well, ballots
precinct.
are
If
different.
this,
By
if this is the
precinct.
precinct,
right, but that's to the BOE.
so if,
But no matter, so like
No.
just, I
okay,
mean.
this is Ward 3. Yeah.
Yes.
So say, and the old Ward 3 included this pink area. So say this was precinct 3A. And they used to vote here. Well, if you're pulling this into Ward 4, they're not voting. And they, maybe if this became this precinct, then maybe these guys now would vote there. These guys might be now voting here instead of there.
And in Carmen's case, she would be moved into Ward 1, so she would definitely, without guarantee, to change her voting location.
Maybe you'll get to be able to walk to your voting location.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to give up vice chair of the party and being on central committee precincts. Because it's by precinct.
But I look at it this way, I mean, we shouldn't be making maps determining where people are going to vote. That's the board vote, and they could change that. The precincts or the
Like I said,
voting
it's
location
changed
could be,
twice.
yeah, so I
I'm
don't
not
know
talking about
that
the
that's a
voting
major-
location, I'm talking about my other vote.
You're gonna have to.
No, I understand. Yeah.
I'm never moving, never.
That
But
is,
you'll be able to still
I
represent
find
whatever.
it strange that they're all
precinct
voting
you're
in
in.
No,
that
I
way.
won't be able to, I'm gonna be off
I'm not
central
part of
committee and
it.
then
She's
I
talking
can't
about
hold my
central
position in
committee.
the party.
Well,
And
but somebody is the representative for wherever.
No, but nobody's gonna be changing these precincts, it's only gonna get added onto. It's not gonna, nobody's losing, so this is gaining. So
Yes.
nobody's gonna lose their seat from here.
You're saying, you're down, so where are you?
I'm saying somebody,
I'm right here.
And this, okay, and I think that this is a great example of why we have the maps in Ohio that we do. Because they're protecting seats. And and Carmen, I hear you, and I get it. And this is why, again, when we're protecting incumbents and they're drawing the lines to incorporate elected, current elected individuals, that's when if we took all of that out, if we took, the idea of, no one's losing their council seat,
That's correct.
right? But I hear you, Carmen.
Yeah, and nobody would necessarily lose,
But
probably someone
I-
would lose it from that, but not necessarily.
I mean, they don't necessarily lose their seat because it wouldn't happen until the next municipal election, and then they could just run for whatever ward they're end up being in.
Well,
So
she's
it
looking at,
doesn't losing your
Other
seat.
I'm an at-large, so
Yours-
this,
Your situation is so, it's really unfortunate, but it's also incredibly narrow and was
Yeah, I don't know how the central committee, how often are those elections?
I did map.
I mean, eventually,
Four-
you just have to
4 years.
run for representing whatever precinct you happen to be in. If someone's already there, then you have to run against them or whatever.
I'm sure that, well, just to let you know that it's Mark Harrison.
Ah, well.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well,
I wasn't gonna say
So
that,
which-
but I know.
which map does that, do all the maps change that for you?
My map
All of them
5.
changed that, all of them changed that.
No, this one protects you.
This one,
Yeah, this is Jefferson Street. see?
oh, so it cuts off, so it's Dale Ward 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, I guess then I'm a fan of L5.
That's got the business district, the main part of the business district together from Sycamore
Is there
East
anyone
to
else who
Locust
would be
Lane South.
Nobody
I'm not
that-
asking for not making reasons, I'm just curious. Like,
I'm trying to think, because really the only people, so the ones that are gaining wouldn't change.
Is there one person per precinct?
Yeah,
Yes.
Those are very small.
well, that's the idea, that we like.
But
really know
wait a
what's
minute.
going on.
Isn't it possible the Board of Elections gonna change the precinct?
They've done that, they did it in Kent, there's something that.
So I
was
mean,
succeeding
that might
Kent.
help. You never know.
Well, the precincts
Since
would.
there's one
yeah,
for
help.
every precinct, Mark is over there, oh, that's right, he is in, just a little bit in one meeting.
That is
That's right.
No
exact.
gerrymandering.
I know, this is, and I'm talking to Trevor right now, and he was like, are they gerrymandering? I'm like, yeah.
Don't worry, Trevor, I got you. I see what, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, that's some of the stuff that happens when, even with these minute, I mean, these are pretty tiny changes, and they're just
Maybe he won't wanna go against you.
really just unlucky.
Well, it's not just that, I'm the vice chair of the party, so it's the executive committee.
My maps 4 and 7 also keep you where you are. In Ward 4.
I mean, if it's the will of the people, then I guess I just sit on the sidelines. I mean, ultimately, that's where I fall on the issue. I mean, because honestly, if I had to pick any map in here, I'd pick this one, but, so, I mean, I guess
Well,
my
but
opinion
how-
isn't gonna be weighted for much.
What is the sustainability? I mean, we're doing this now because we have to, because it's been out of sorts for so long. How long before these become, you know?
2030 census.
Yeah, let's.
Well, but I'm just saying, I mean, don't we want to make a change that's going to last? I don't know, that looks scary
Redistricting
to
is
me.
going to occur it might be nothing, it might be minimal.
And I think that you guys are looking at the fact that these maps really haven't had any since 1971. So there's been a lot of change. I don't know that you're going to see that much change
I
in
think there were
20.
several decades that Kent just was able to keep them the same, but what happened was that was important is that they reconsidered them, they double-checked the numbers, and they said, okay, this is still good.
Is still good. And I think that that's what, Ravenna could do. It's just to make sure that you're, in the, the,
And your wonderfully low deviations will help a lot, because, right, because you're keeping it at 1%, so then if there is a shift,
Right, there's more room to.
you might get up to 9%, but you won't be up to 11%.
That's
I
why
mean,
I
we
put them
can't-
as close as I could in the hope that
But
it
if
would be
if one
longer
housing
till we
development
had
Right,
shows
change
up,
I'm
again.
saying,
it could be,
yeah, I mean, where development occurs is going to make
but
the
that
biggest
means,
change.
that's probably a good thing, right, population growth.
Or tornado
is
wipes
good,
out
so-
the entire east side.
I was gonna say, vacancy
Well,
happens much
Ward
slower.
3 is the only place that
unless
would really have
there's
another housing development, because Anabar has space to add a whole other space onto it.
They have some.
I don't know how much
I
of
can't
that
think of
might
anywhere
be.
else where you could actually put in a development, though.
Well,
There-
it depends on
there
what you
isn't.
call
I
it.
feel like you guys need annexation, what are you talking about?
Annexation would be
I was
another-
thinking about that, they want to change so nobody wants to pay taxes. And if that happens, we've talked about here what would happen with the township being sucked into the city because they wouldn't have any money. Now, I know you can't bet what's in the future, but it could change the whole thing because.
Sure.
Yeah, because now you've got, and it's forced annexing basically.
is that what happened when Brady Lake came in?
Where'd they go?
Franklin Township. so I
Oh,
don't
it's
know.
just Franklin Township, okay, right, it's a township, got it.
I guess at some point we're gonna have to decide which maps to, I mean, unless we just wanna keep all the maps and let people see them and vote on them.
I mean, I think you take them, I think it doesn't hurt to just take them out and see what people think and know that these are options. And for them to take a look and that's when that, public conversation, and again, I think Carmen's right. Sometimes residents see things that you're not even like thinking about in the chambers here, that they have things that,
I'm not gonna say anything, give any input, I'm just gonna let the chips fall where they may.
And
It is what
actually,
it
right
is.
here, they wouldn't be voting over in,
Do I like
3A
it?
as an
No,
example,
but
they
it
would
is
have
what
to
it
stay
is.
in.
I like democracy.
I just want to give you a big hug right now. Say, no, it's, and this is, and I think that, I know that there aren't probably many people watching this, but boy, I wish that they were, so that they could actually hear on this type of scale why it is hard, and why redistricting is so hard, and why, when there are so many players, that you do see gerrymandering, and this is how you get districts that are like, all right, well, we gotta save this seat, and we gotta do this seat, instead of looking at what is best for the public, and what is best for the residents, and what is best for the citizens, you know, in this case.
Well, back to what I told Paul, the decisions have to be made about the position and its things, not the person, because in perpetuity, that will change. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I might move to Alaska, so. It would be useless then to create a map around where I'm sitting at on this particular day, at this particular point in time.
And I think that is so important for the, like, just mainstream Ohioans to hear, is that it's, you know, it's about the voters, and it's about what is fair for the voters.
I think it's overwhelming to have all these maps move forward. And I think if we can categorize them and pick sample representation, sample maps to represent whatever those categories are, like that's one all by itself. And just for the sake of being unique, maybe it should be available.
And I won't put crazy.
And I think,
But I do think, I mean, I feel like you're probably right. People will probably be like, that is too much change. But I
Yeah,
want them to
and
see
well,
that this,
and the
they
other
won't
part-
understand it,
there are
and you're gonna have to change it. I would
Yeah,
argue
because it
we
looks
need
like
to
there's
change
five, it
it.
looks like there's multiple.
yeah, and
You
that
have
was
to
an
make them all
unfortunate
four
color.
That's
colors.
the first thing I saw.
It was a color
Wait a
result.
minute.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the biggest criticism is gonna be, well, wait a second, you know, I mean, look at the side, look at red or blue is just covering, it's too much, and yellow is too much, and then there's
You got
just
blue, purple.
It doesn't look balanced.
Rob, what are you gonna do if 100 people show up at this meeting and say, I love that change?
It doesn't
Then
look balanced because
maybe
it has
that's
to do
where we
with
go with it.
density, which is,
I know.
that's exactly.
I'm just saying,
Because it's all like, it's apartments for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna
those
be smaller.
multifamilies we all love, multifamily.
it's just, people are gonna, they're just gonna be weirded out by it. But if they understand it, and that's the big question, they might be drawn to it, I don't know.
I think it also might help people to understand why we're even doing this process. Because if
Right.
they look at 3 of Larry's maps and say, well, they're pretty much the same, whatever.
Right.
At least this will maybe be a
Right.
thought piece for them
That's,
to be
that's what,
like,
that's what I was saying,
okay,
like, that,
yeah.
that should be just as an alternative.
I'm gonna write myself a note, fix the purple.
Yeah.
You're
It's
throwing
really
people
just,
off.
It was really just the fact that the red and the blue overlap, which they didn't do anymore.
But you created all, or printed all these maps. Which ones do you think resonate as examples? I mean, most of them are trying to be.
Comply with the law.
All of them.
They all do.
And the thing of it
Okay,
is,
so none of them cross out of
No,
those
everybody is
precinct-
doing
okay.
great.
when there's a public
Well-
meeting, I believe there should be one map that's actually drawn the way it is now.
Yeah. that's
Well,
good.
In a
Sure.
square, and that way everyone understands what it is now compared to what it will be.
Yes.
Because some people have asked me, what ward am I in? I've been living here for a long time, but I don't know.
Well, the other thing I wanted to do was put a few landmarks on there, which I didn't get to do.
There's people that do vote that don't
Some
even
people
know
know
what ward
direction
they're
by
in.
party
They just go
and
where
stuff.
they're told.
I've seen it.
Tell you and ask you, like,
So one category of map could be which is the least different geographically. Okay,
Possibly mine.
So-
Fewest residents changing.
okay. Which one has the fewest residents? No, I
Changing
mean-
wards.
No,
Oh,
I mean geographically.
That too.
And this one here isn't drastic.
I mean, which one looks more like the one we have now?
How about my number one?
Well, you consider that is real close because that's Main Street, right there.
But Chestnut is here, and it's not, there's a big part of, that's not part of Chestnut and down here too as well.
Well,
I
Chestnut,
don't think this one, I don't agree with that.
well, look, first it was mentioned Main Street. I was pointing that out.
I don't think there's any of them that can,
And here's Chestnut right here.
right, but it's not, Chestnut right now divides, Chestnut and Main divides it,
Yes.
but not on this one. I mean, mine at
That's
least,
not gonna happen on any of them.
no. I don't think, getting tired of trying to make my point.
Just phrase
I
it
hear,
different.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Rob. I think that, you know, again, I don't know if it's much about,
I'm not saying it is, I'm saying, unless we just want to end the meeting and we'll just present all these maps, which I think is just gonna confuse everybody.
I would like to.
I'm trying to figure out what categories we can say to people, well, this one looks more like it. This one has the least deviation in population and whatever the different categories are. And pick those maps.
sometimes it's
And
easier to
present
eliminate.
those.
Why don't we start with ones that we can eliminate? Sometimes that makes the process easier.
Larry, can you identify two of yours that you think are the most similar, and then maybe just choose one of them?
Well, each one had a different reason. Maybe we get rid of the reasons we don't care about. You know? This is the well-off people on the east side altogether in Ward 4. Is that important or not?
I don't know, 'cause I'm not well off, and I also don't.
This adds the business district to Ward 4, along with the well-off people. This one puts the business district in Ward 1.
I mean, the business district is, that particular block there is so low in population that I'm not sure that matters. That this brown chunk, I'm not sure the brown
Well,
chunk.
that's the main street.
There's nothing brown, well,
It
right
matters
here.
from a
This is brown right here.
economic standpoint, but not necessarily a residential standpoint.
And right here in this brown chunk,
That's the main street.
there's almost no one living
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
same
that's
thing,
the
same
point.
thing there. But like this, well, this one is interesting because this has, I mean, I'm kind of intrigued by this, so can we maybe save that one?
Well,
Right,
all right,
that's
what-
and I think that if you just have a representation and you're open to the idea that somebody might look at one of, you know, it might look at Larry's 1 and it ends up being like Larry's 3, because without them ever even seeing your option 3, but just in their own, you know, like where their communities fall, it might end up looking like one of the other maps because they are so similar.
Well, but wait a minute, who's gonna make those changes you're talking about? If they look at 1, how are we gonna end up with 3?
If they look at that and say, okay, I like this, but this doesn't represent me, what if we move this
I'm
one
gonna have the Sharpie.
over here? And then it might end up, in the end, it might end up looking like your number 3 without them ever having seen it.
So your idea would be to record all the public comments and try to tabulate them?
100%. That's why you have people's input into the maps. And then to Paul's point, it makes it, that way they feel like they have ownership in this and they're going to be less likely to be angry that they didn't have a say, that this was jammed down their throat and that they were just told by council, this is the way that it is, and that they have to accept it. When if you open it up to comment and you actually listen to what they say and then try to incorporate, understanding that not everything that they say can happen. I mean,
That has happened in the past. Some residents have said, council members decided this, why weren't we informed to at least have some input? So it goes back similar to what you said.
and again, you're not gonna be able to incorporate every single person's.
No, that's impossible.
It's impossible, but you could get an idea of what those communities and how they feel where they feel their community is.
I would have liked to take 5 maps plus the crazy map.
I like Rob's with that little jut out of the red, the 4 going and taking up a chunk of downtown. I think that could be, unless we don't want to have a council member put this map.
I'm
actually not a member of council. President is actually not a member
Oh,
of council.
Yeah,
so
but,
you're elected, no? Or,
Right.
yes, he is.
yeah.
The position is elected.
Yeah, president just holds different office. All right, so we got 3, right? And
Now, I think I like Mike too. I like that one better because that's the one that had, and that's easy to explain to people because that's the one, and I'll pull this one out and somebody thinks that this one should stay. It has the fewest people living that I could possibly figure out.
Right.
Like it had to be 1,000.
Okay.
But then, remember what I was saying is like that's the higher, that's getting closer to the 283. I could maybe adjust that, tweak that just a little bit. It's still legal, but if there's any change, it might put it over.
I would like to get data too when people sign in of what ward and precinct they live in, because it'll be interesting to see where people live that's gonna drive the conversation.
Maybe have them mark on it.
Okay, so
The
one,
map is
I
my
love that.
info, but, because it's not just which ward, but are you in this change,
Right.
the change zone?
I love that idea.
one thing you have to be ready for is to answer them what precinct they're in, because,
Oh, I have an app on my phone.
well, I've encountered in the past, what precinct am I in? I don't know.
I can make a map, well, you said you wanted to bring that anyway, right? The original map. The current
Yes,
map.
that
I'll
way
bring
people
that
can see what it is right
with
now,
landmarks too. so
compared
people
to
can figure out what
the
it is.
options of what it will be. Because a lot of people have a hard time drawing that picture.
How many maps we have?
Yeah, I know they're all your babies, Larry, but which of
Yeah,
your
these-
maps,
there are 3 here.
which are the most different?
Well, 4 and 7 were the same except for that little corner. That one's smoother. I'd probably throw 4 out.
Okay. This one.
Okay, we've got 4, unless you're going to include that one.
I'm fine.
Okay, well, you have
I'm just the.
4 of them right here.
What is your other favorite, any other favorite?
What, this has got, what, the business district is one of the nine. Okay.
And so Robert's, where was it mine? It's not this one. They kind of are similar, oh yeah, this one, so
See, this one
J2
does
and
go almost to the
L2.
city limits.
I think this one actually does what your L2 does, which includes
Mine
this, all of these. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yours goes a little bit north.
Okay, this one is real close to the city limits, real close.
Well,
Because,
no, this is cut off. This is, the actual
This
map
is
is up
zoomed in
here.
so people can see the
This is the
lines.
actual.
but,
They're all cut off.
but Grove, there's no sign there. No. No street sign.
Somewhere there is.
That looks like L2.
Grove, there's nothing out there.
That's it. That's,
So I own about 12 lots out there. There's no houses, there's nothing there.
that's
And it never will be,
exactly.
pretty much.
That's why I said that.
We have
There's no sign there.
1, 2,
It's just
3,
mentally.
we have L4, we have L7. I feel like we cover L2 with Rob and my maps.
Yeah.
Can I
Maybe
ask
even
you,
L3 as
The one
well.
you're gonna pick, are these set in stone because we're talking about democratic? Are we gonna be telling the public that these are what you have to choose from, or is this just a starting?
Just
point?
a starting.
Oh, okay. Because I can see you get.
And then
this
they
far.
all have
Yeah.
access.
Post-it notes.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that. You're doing the best ones to get them and let them think and see what they want.
And just start formulating ideas, because sometimes I think it's hard for the general public to kind of look and be like, okay, well, that, not exactly understanding how maps are drawn, and this is where, I mean, if the council's interested, Trevor, who came in and introduced this originally, is our map guru and has done this across the state and is willing to come up and kind of lead those. Jennifer obviously has,
Bring them, just so
so much
people-
experience
but not-
and
I mean,
just
they
to,
can use the primary ones,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't just transfer
moderate
those.
the discussion.
So bring them with me for the next meeting.
Yeah, something primary and those would be like a secondary. Maybe there's a.
I would probably downplay
Something like what it changed.
the rich section, the affluent sections, and the other one, because it's sometimes hard to tell. I know about 6 or 8 millionaires in this town that live in $100,000 houses, so you really now.
Well, and
Yeah,
income
and
is
just-
only one
Yeah,
small
but
thing.
I'm not sure by grabbing part of Ward 2 and bringing it into 4, which we're looked at, I live in 4 that we're looking at affluent, and most of us are having trouble paying our payments too. But when you start doing that, well, you're taking some of ours and putting them down with rich people. What are you gonna run into there?
That's
I don't know.
exactly the kind of comment I want to hear from people, more people saying,
And
like,
it-
I feel like I'm part of this.
And the reason for that statement, it could look like it could be stereotyping, and it shouldn't.
Or gerrymandering. To it, not gerrymandering as such, but taking the affluent and the ones that we do have affluent and taking them down and putting them with the
I
other.
was telling Sherry, if you look at it by number of voter, people who, not just registered voters, but if you, who's actually going to vote,
Oh.
you would think that Ward 3, because they're hands down, they have over 1,000 more than anywhere else, but no, it's Ward 2. Ward 2 has the most, which is Mr. Pierce's ward and Tyler Maravich. They have the most voters turn out every election.
You should see the crazy numbers in Kent. We had somebody who consistently ran unopposed and won with 40 votes, and out of their, that was the only 40 people voted.
And
And they
the
would
thing
just
of it is, going by what Cliff said, and it looks like it's stereotyping because more affluent in a lot of parts there. Then you're looking, okay, we're
I think the
separating
only
those.
reason that's mentioned is that there is differentiation in the neighborhoods.
There is,
There is. I'm sorry.
don't.
I mean, I walk around the city.
And, I mean, I've seen so much over the years, and then you have certain parts where there's a lot more crime, and it's almost,
So we have some.
It does, the
examples.
people made it up, obviously, you know what they were trying to accomplish.
Yes.
We have met you right.
Aaron, if you want to make an argument for any of the remaining maps, but also I'll bring them with me.
I
Either
wouldn't-
way, but these ones maybe I will
yeah, like,
zoom
I
in
mean,
and
if
try
it
to
were me,
make them
I wouldn't
prettier.
throw those
I'll
out.
just bring these backups.
And how often will he go on it, or they, or she, or
So should the next,
Act of 1 presents a slightly different option, that there's 2 wards in the business district, Ward 1 and Ward 4. It's got fairly straight lines. Different option than as far as the central business district.
You want me to put that in this file? Do you want me to put that one in this file then? Or is it
Well, if
different
you want
perspective?
one more, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'll take these ones, bring them with me and focus on these
And
ones.
what I would do, when they're spread out later, spread out so it's actually
Bob, do you think we could get, like, if
So
we
they're
had a public
proportions
meeting, do
of
you think we could get a
these
different
streets are
space
actually
where people could walk
that
around
way.
more easily?
Yeah, I think the library would be a
Which
good.
means in this case, the way this is,
Because I don't think we're gonna have 100
This here-
people show up.
this would be actually out that way, so it would be turned around. So that people can see exactly how this is proportioned geographically.
Oh, because I put that map there.
No. If I turn this upside down, that's how it would be geographically.
Wait, the north there, the north is up.
Well, what I'm getting at, Lincoln would be over that way. And Maine,
Oh, you mean based on the building we're in?
no, north, south, east, west.
He's just talking about orienting the max the way it is.
Yes.
That's based on where we're currently.
Yes.
Well, I don't even know where we're gonna be meeting.
But that doesn't make any difference.
But north is always up. It's not always up, but.
Are we gonna
I feel like
display
people
it
think in
laying
terms
down,
of
or are we
north.
gonna display
I
it
would like,
hanging up?
I think we should have it at the library in
I'll
their
put landmarks on.
meeting room and put them along the walls. Just tape them up on the walls.
Well, Paul suggested, I think, is they be laying down oriented correctly. Do you think that would help any people?
No, because
Okay.
I think people understand north, south, east, and
especially
west
she's
on
gonna
a.
put landmarks
I disagree with
on
that.
some of them.
I've come across many people that says, you're telling me north, south, or
It
east?
was interesting.
And I have no
Well,
idea
the
what
ones I think
direction
about
that is. I thought, okay.
In my building, I
So
work
do you
at,
believe the
absolutely
library
no.
room is big enough?
If I were to
If you
walk
have
up-
over 100 people?
We're not gonna have
I never
100 people
kinda-
show up.
I
Hey,
have no
I'm
idea
being
what
optimistic. I'm not, I'm kind of looking at the big picture. And I think it's got to be something serious to
If you
consider.
would lay one on a table at the library.
But if you had it at
people could get
the,
all around it and talk,
That's exactly,
well,
like we did.
no, but I mean, if you had them along the perimeters of the walls, then that creates the greatest amount of space. Put them in the middle, then everybody's covered over that.
and the reason I'm saying be prepared for a lot of people, what Carmen did with the data center, no one expected
But I will put
Well,
probably landmarks.
that many people to show up.
And especially,
And that's why I'm trying to,
whatever-
I'm looking at a big picture.
It's in the library. I put the
I'd rather be prepared
library
for
parks.
130 and have 40 show up. And, but that's the way I look at things.
I would put the high school.
I don't
because
know
we're
where,
looking at
skip-
I don't know a space where we could do that.
Well, that's why I look at the big picture. And I'd rather be prepared for bigger, and it might not happen, rather be prepared for 40 and maybe 90 show
So
up.
on my side
Are you gonna have one to
Yeah, voting. I like the idea of including
Well,
signs.
the library
divides
does
the
have,
business district between one and four?
you know,
It's
that
different
one,
than the other.
It is quite different. I mean, in a good way.
And it's pretty
I
strict.
believe that room
And
opens up,
that's
so
another
you
thing
could have
I
a
was
large.
gonna say, but I didn't interrupt you.
I think it should go in one.
Okay, that'll probably be the last one.
Yeah.
nobody else will come up with that. I already know that. I'm not comfortable with the fact that I know that I'm the only one who's in this part.
And I think that would be a good space because, I mean,
Feels obscure to me.
you know, there's nothing fixed in the room, you know, so if you put it on the walls, people come in, I think you can give them Post-it notes if they want to indicate their favor, or at least make a note, stick it up
But I'm
there.
gonna try to make these more.
That's my,
If I print them on, if I make them 24 by 36, which is the biggest I can do, I should be able to have the full thing. I just wanted to make sure that we could see individual.
So, city park.
Yeah, I'll put all the parks on. Library, the hospital. Any other landmarks that I should include on the map to help orient people?
That'll be, but you can go back and
I said all the rights showed up, but
No.
they don't need representation.
Well, it's just saying to orient.
It's just so people know where they, because sometimes people look at a map and they're like, I don't know where I live. Because
Okay, you can go with the,
I teach geography, and every year, our first activity is we take sidewalk chalk, we go out to the parking lot, and I tell them to draw me a map of what they think Ohio looks like, just the outline. And then they have to tell me, they have to label where Lake Erie is in relationship to where they drew Ohio. They have to put a star where they think Columbus is, and then they have to put a dot wherever they're from, because they come from all over Ohio. Listen, maybe all of last year, we got 2 people that came somewhat close, that if you looked at it, you can identify it. They put Lake Erie in the middle of the state, they put it to the south of us.
Wow.
And these are high school kids, these are high school kids, and some of them are gifted IQs, so it's not even like they're just low and don't know.
Geography has been pushed out of the high school standards.
There's maps all over my room because that's not happening there. And they feel like bad, they're laughing, because then at the end, when everybody's
want a
done.
visitor to talk about anything geography right now.
Well, I unrolled a map of Ohio. And they're like, oh my God. Really? And oopsie. They're like, Columbus is in the middle? Yeah.
Almost exactly.
What I love is they.
Two major
put Cedar Point.
interstates.
I'm like, you guys are right on Lake Erie. How did you guys miss that?
Well, they don't know where the lake is. They don't know what direction.
Well, I taught an AP class at Nordonia, and half the class didn't know the capital was Columbus.
My question is, who failed? Who failed these
Thank you.
kids?
It's the
The
state of
state,
The
with
system.
the testing, and you got to pass the test, and they don't care,
It's
you
the-
know where anything is.
It's the state, it's the learning standards, and like when you and I went to school, geography was a mandatory course. Now, it's not taught at all.
You
If
leave.
you wanna take, it could be an advanced place.
Your committee,
I'm gonna go,
good to see.
I'm gonna go home and lie down.
Yeah, okay.
This is, this is
Because
good.
their schedules are
I
packed.
think we're making progress.
Trevor's been watching online. Yeah, but that's how I knew that he, okay, he's chiming in on things. He was like, wait a minute, what? You know, and, so, yeah. So he was giving us that's how he knew about like precincts and that, so, but, and he's on board. He's like, it's a good start, so thank you. Thank you, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna go to bed.
Countries that being a teacher holds the same status as a doctor. And it's very selective. You have to have straight A's. Here, it's like, to be an education major, it's like a 2.0. Okay. Well, thank you.
Any chance you would want to display these at council meetings, the ones,
All right.
Well, I think that's a good question. I think do you want the next step to bring this to the planning committee?
Yes.
Okay, and
And
then
do you
from
want to
there,
determine then a public meeting?
yeah, I think that discussion should take place in the planning committee.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm in favor unless council doesn't want to do it, which I don't know why they wouldn't.
How long before this has to be done?
December, I believe.
yeah. So we got time.
Well, time goes by quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where this summer went, so.
we should have, what, three readings in council plus the public hearing?
Yeah, well,
So you're almost in December then?
yeah, if you, it is no requirement that I know of that it requires 3 readings, but I think the next step should be to bring it to the planning in August,
Okay, I'm sure it'll be then,
and then September, October, November. If you wanted to go through the 3 readings, then we could just start the process then.
okay,
And then, in the meantime, we can schedule whatever, maybe we start with one meeting, one public meeting.
yeah.
And when I say public meeting, I don't mean, and not a hearing where we sit here and people walk up to the
No, that's why I
microphone.
like the library
Yeah,
idea.
so we, and, you know, we can figure out, we can plan how we want to present that information. If we want Post-it notes, people could make their favorites or whatever you want to do. Then we can see what the measure is, how many people show up and what the interest is. And if need be, we could have another one or another one after that. So I think maybe take it one step at a time and see where it leads.
I'd at least like to have a few, because sometimes people have conflicts and they
Right.
won't be able to make it. If there's just one and only and they have something
Yeah.
unavoidable,
I agree.
I'd hate to have them miss.
I agree. So let's, if you're okay with that, then we picked
Yeah.
out the, sort of like the highlighted ones. Maybe, I wonder if we could set up a computer with, what's it called, Dave's Maps or whatever?
Yeah.
And we could
You want
have,
me
if
to-
people wanted to, they could create their own map right
Yeah,
in
they
there.
could do a digital one
Yeah,
on there. That's a great idea.
or at least let them know how the system, how we did it.
Yeah, yeah, I've got access to to Chromebooks or whatever, I could bring some of
Yeah,
those.
so maybe, and we don't need a long formal presentation. You could almost set it up like a poster session, right? You could step by your map and people could come by and they could rate your,
Yeah, I feel like the questions that you guys have been asking gave me a really good sense of what, and hopefully the questions you had in your head, like, it gives me a good sense of, like, what is the shortest version of this story can tell, but make sure that we clear up a couple of the things that people were confused about. And yeah, I don't have to be the one doing that, I'm just saying, somebody could talk. I'm the introvert, so. But somebody could do just a brief introduction about the process, why it's required, and what, I think particularly, what the law calls for us to consider. Because there's a
Right.
lot of extraneous stuff.
I think we need a little preamble, letting people know why we're doing this and so forth.
I can do that. All right, so this will be on the planning committee, and then we'll know the next, could we set up a date at that meeting
Or,
for the public?
we
meeting?
could,
To meet at the
Okay.
library.
yeah, we
Right.
could.
Okay. I hope you can make it if it's at the library, Larry.
Yeah,
All right, yes. Okay.
Carmen, when's the planning meeting?
All right, see you in a couple of weeks. I'll do that. That's right, next meeting's a week and a half approximately.